morning. Welcome to the Liberty Revolt. My name is Bucky Dillon, and with me today is my co-host Cole Masters and my guest Aaron. The topic of today's discussion is saving America.
Yeah, I think we've all been worried about the state of this country for the past few weeks, and not to say that America necessarily needs saving from anything else but ourselves. So today we're going to talk about how we can do that.
So with me today is our friend Aaron, who owns a gym in town that we've been going to for quite some time. I think I started going to Maniac's Gym around 2016, 2015. I think so.
Yeah, for a few years now.
Yeah, it's a great place to work out. If it's something you're into, lifting weights, and you're looking for a place in northern Colorado that's affordable, open 24 hours a day, and has a lot of freedoms to it, definitely check out Maniac's Gym.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
So what have you got for us today?
All right, well, you approached me a few days ago asking me my opinions on certain things. We've had several conversations over the past few years. We're talking about saving our country myself. I could have said it better myself. What Abraham Lincoln, he said, the country can't be destroyed from without until it's already been destroyed from within.
Something like that.
Is that Lincoln who said that?
It was.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Anyway, yeah, I've been preaching for at least since this whole COVID thing started rearing its ugly head and they started shutting down businesses left and right. I was kicked out of my business forcefully. I had to go find work somewhere else. I had to go to Montana, work with my brother for 2 months. I had police stationed outside. It's a gym. It's a small warehouse gym. We had police stationed outside for at least 2 weeks, stationed outside to make sure nobody went in there and lifted weights while I was gone. Because it's a 24-hour place with a PIN number, access. Everybody gets their own code to the door. They said, okay, well, we can't have people going in there and working out because, the scary virus. Never mind that not 400 yards away as the crow flies, you got a Walmart. And at the time, there was 0 restrictions. Technically, you could have 2,000 people walk in there and start line dancing.
Right. Not only that, but they were channeling everyone in through one door. They were
right.
compressing everybody into a smaller area.
So you can have 2 people over here doing bench press, but you could have 1,000 people over here, all sneezing on the avocados. That's not a problem.
And Walmart doesn't even enforce their mask policy. I mean,
Well,
you've never seen anyone in Walmart giving a darn about what people are wearing in their store.
Well, that's Larimer County, I think. The businesses aren't required to require their customers. It's up to the customer, and technically, I think we can personally be fined if there's cops. And I know there's a lot of cities around the country where they have undercover people going into businesses, and here's your fine. So it's not up to Walmart. I'm talking about the government and their business. I run a business. I agree with Walmart not enforcing that. I don't want Walmart saying, you can't come in here and buy our avocados if you don't have a t-shirt sleeve over your face. That's not their job, and it's not the government's job either. It's
right.
As you guys know, I do travel a lot, and I've been focusing a lot of my efforts over the past few years in Ukraine. They're their 7th year now of Russian aggression over there.
Right. So those who have never heard of it, what Aaron does is he's got a project he calls the Ukrainian Orphan Project, and so he goes over there and volunteers taking care of some of these orphanages that are literally on the border in between Russia and Ukraine, and have tank shells going off outside of their orphanage.
Yeah.
These kids have nobody.
Yeah, you're close with the name. It's a War Zone Orphan Rescue Project. And we concentrate on orphanages that are close to the war zone. And it's pretty bad over there. There's 7 years right now, 7th year of shellings and tanks, Russian troops. You have their I don't know if you want to call them insurgents, or people who identify as Russians living in Ukraine. Putin says, okay, well, here's some guns, here's some ammo, here's some tanks, here's some artillery. By the way, there's no real rules. Don't go too nuts, because he's playing the long game. But what I've been trying to impress upon my friends over there is watch the United States news. And I've been screaming it for a while. I said the second it becomes in vogue, popular, basically acceptable to start shooting police officers in the street over here, the police are going to start quitting. And when we don't have a police force over here, we're going to have chaos, and we're going to have our hands too full over here to protect you guys over there. And once Putin decides, he determines that the United States is a little bit too busy to deal with him, then he can send his 20 divisions straight to Kiev and probably take over the entire Eastern European, all the countries over there that used to be Soviet Union, put it all back together again. He can do it in about 10 days. So he needs about 10 days of us. And I think, I said this 3 months ago. And what do we have on the TV? What do we have on the news right now? We have riots. We have police forces quitting. I got a friend in LA. He's been a cop in LA for 20 years. He said they are retiring early. They're just quitting their jobs. They're done. And it's happening all across the country. We are losing our police force daily.
Right, in the name of social justice.
In the name of all this crap that's going on, because, oh my gosh, we need to feel sorry for these guys. Of course they can burn down businesses and beat people in the streets, based on their skin color. How many videos are we seeing on the social media and on the news every day of, white people getting beaten, people in wheelchairs, mothers with children in strollers just getting beaten simply because they're white.
It's fewer on the news than it is on social media. In fact, I have to dig in Twitter or Instagram or something to find videos of white people. On the news, it seems to be the opposite, and only the opposite, at least on mainstream news.
Well, in fact, it's happening at all. Someone's pulling the string. Somebody wants chaos to reign over here.
Right, and you look at the amount of money that Russia and China are pouring into these organizations and pouring into these social divisions and even lobbying our media openly.
Well, not just Russia and China, but we have homegrown socialists and communists, self-identified Marxists saying, hey, this is great. We need to it's right out of Marx's handbook. Look how the Soviet Union was formed in the first place when they got rid of the czars. That didn't fare well for the Soviet people when they went from czars into communist rule. But what did they do? They caused as much chaos as possible, and there was so much chaos, people were begging for someone to come along and restore order. What happens on the other side of the world affects us here. And I'll just say in a few seconds ago during the break, ever since the steamship came along and we went from, it took months to cross the oceans to it took days to cross the oceans, that's when the whole world shrank. And what happens on other places around the world, it affects us here. And what happens here affects people in the other parts of the world. We're all connected. So I see it preventing the Soviet Union from reforming itself. Ukraine and Belarus and Czechoslovakia and Poland and all these old Warsaw Pact nations, once they fall back into Putin's hands completely, we're that much closer to World War III and total annihilation. There's evil people in the world. Russia and China are at the top of that list. So preventing Ukraine from being overrun and taken over is going to affect us here.
That's what people seem to forget about. We're a country with oceans on two borders whose geography protects us from invasion. But as soon as we let our country fall apart from within, these threats from without are going to proliferate across the world, and people would have to be crazy to think that's not going to affect American democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. American power is what is holding back a lot of these awful regimes around the world. Right. I mean, a lot of these countries that people say are great because they're protected by American strength.
Yeah, we are the duct tape holding the world together right now. And it's breaking. And it's bad, And what I preach to my friends over there in Ukraine, you have to train, you have to prepare for massive attack, whatever. But in the end, Russia's probably going to win. It's probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen soon. So then it becomes a resistance type thing. But in a magic world where I can wave a magic wand, what will prevent the whole thing is if they had the Second Amendment. If every citizen over there, sound mind, was armed and trained like they are in Switzerland. That's, a little history lesson from Switzerland. They're the one country that Hitler didn't even consider going into. Yeah, he had a plan drawn up, but he never seriously considered going through Switzerland. Look at any World War II map or map, of Europe from that time. It's all red, except for one patch in the middle. There's Switzerland, just as happy as clams, because all their citizens they're trained, and I believe they have mandatory military service when they turn a certain age as teenagers. But what would save the Ukrainians? It's the same thing that would save us. We have bad guys running around the streets right now, burning businesses and beating people, and we got people stoking the fires. What's going to save us from that? What's next?
Being able to protect ourselves, for sure.
And how are we going to do that?
Being able to protect ourselves and, kind of giving people a voice so we can enact an ideological shift in this country. Because right now, we're split right down the middle, and we've got tunnel vision. We're looking at the world through the American keyhole, while the rest of the world is hoping that our eyes stay on that narrow path. I mean, the best thing these other countries can do is financially, monetarily support, these groups that are trying to tear apart the country in the U.S. so that they can further their interests abroad, especially right now.
Now, you talk about Walmart a lot, but 90% of people I know of, they go shopping at Walmart. You walk in there, and at the self-checkouts at least, there's signs up that says you can't use cash anymore. There's a cash shortage. I cleaned out an entire ATM machine at a bank a few days ago with $470. All they had in their ATM machine. They were done. Someone says that they're not printing money at the mints now because of coronavirus. They're using this as an excuse for everything that's coming down the pipe. So I got some ideas, and I think that's why you invited me here.
Yeah, you were talking to me the other day about some police reform and some ideas you had about how to strengthen that community.
Right. Our most immediate problem right now is this looming. They're shoving a race war down our throats. The things that I see, I get so mad I want to spit on the floor. Everybody wants something to blame. Pretty soon the cash in our pockets is going to be gone. We can't use it anymore. They're not going to accept it anymore. What is that about? How come no one's talking about that? That is insane.
The government being able to track every transaction, control your money. If they want to just turn off, this is something they can do in China with the whole WeChat Pay thing that they use everywhere. If they want to block your social media, which is also your wallet, they just stop it. You can't make a purchase.
Man, I've been in peasant villages in China, and I mean really rural China, where they don't accept cash. I can only pay in WeChat. If I bring my wallet and not my phone around in China, half the time I can't get anything.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. So there are some bad people way up the food chain, obviously making these calls. And it's not good for you and me and our kids and our grandkids. I stay awake at night. I've been around the world. I served with the Marine Corps, infantry. I know how the world's supposed to work, and this flies in the face of everything that makes sense. What's happening now isn't working. What's happening is this is what we're getting. We're getting Frederick Douglass statues torn down.
Right. It's like you guys say there's no slippery slope. Like, we're just going to tear down these bad guys. There is a slippery slope when it comes to a cultural revolution.
It's going like this.
Yeah, easy, quickly.
Anyways, we got a lot of bad guys, and we're going to have a lot of chaos. But to keep a lid on the chaos, there's something that the local sheriffs can do about it. Actually, they have the legal power to deputize literally anyone they want. I believe it's called posse comitatus. I was talking to a police friend of mine who said, yeah, that's what that is. I could be wrong on that, but I know they can deputize anyone they want. If anyone with the DD-214, where suddenly, DD-214 is anyone who that's a form you get when you leave military service. It says, it's a little piece of paper that says, you did good, you fulfilled the contract, you're good to go. Any military veteran that wants can be deputized. I think they need to form a new unit, air quotes unit, where it's basically I call it a special reserve deputy assistant, where basically it's a glorified concealed carry permit. You don't have the power to arrest, and we don't want to have these people on power trips or whatever. You're an assistant, and you can be called up in times of crisis, kind of like National Guard, but more like a militia. It says in our Constitution, well-regulated militia. Well, let's have this. It's time to have this well-regulated militia because the crap's about to hit the fan hard. And what's going to protect your family and my family? We've all got kids. We've all got families. We don't want anything to happen to them. We need to show the deep state. I mean, we hear this word. I don't know exactly what it is. Everybody has their own idea of what it is. But we see what's going on here, like the whole Epstein didn't kill himself thing. Who killed that guy?
Right.
Absolutely. We go down this rabbit hole. The Clintons, how many of their friends have committed suicide? It's staggering the number of people that they know have died in mysterious whatever, and that's what you call the deep state. So these guys are pulling the strings, and someone's pulling their strings. We had thousands, literally thousands of good guys, all of a sudden, overnight, in arms, that were well regulated by like our sheriff in Larimer County. The more I hear about the guy, the more I like him. He's the president of the Children's Charity Network, or Realities for Children, I mean. He's a super Second Amendment. He's all about the Constitution. He's all about the family. He's all about, law and order and just being decent. A guy like that, I think, should be at the helm of a battalion of militia. We're loyal to the sheriff, and who in turn is loyal back to the American people and the American way of life. We were having all these mass shootings a few years ago. It was every other week. It seemed like there's another mass shooting, and oh my God, we take the guns away, and oh my God, there's mass shooters everywhere, and all this hysteria. And obviously, the only solution for that is, you got bad guys with guns running around. We need more good guys out there.
Right. We need some protection.
So how do you get that? So I had this idea. Well, if the sheriff were to deputize this special assistant, class of law enforcement, some of the minimal law enforcement credentials. That means if you have this credential in your pocket, you can take your concealed carry into post offices and banks and places where you're not supposed to, because you're law enforcement now. Never mind the fact I can't walk in and start busting people for jaywalking or whatever. I'm just an assistant, but I have credentials, I have a little bit of training, maybe every month, whatever, however you want to structure it, but it's possible to have, especially people, and I say veterans, not like we're special people or anything like that, but we've already had, indoctrination into, rules of engagement, you already, you can control yourself, you've been screamed at and you haven't flipped out, you have some training, stuff like that. So you already know how to restrain yourself in certain situations and conduct yourself in a professional manner. And then, of course, other people as well can obviously be accepted into these units. So we have more good guys with guns out there that can stop these active shooters. Now we have this. We're going to take it to the next level. Have some training, more regimentation. So if I had a few thousand guys in Larimer County, just like me, maybe one weekend a month, we go do some training or whatever, minimal, and say, hey, here's some scenarios. This is what we're going to do. If chaos breaks out, we can at least,
be somewhat useful.
Useful.
Regular guys can not hinder things and make them
check the chaos a little bit. Maybe enforce a curfew if it has to be enforced.
At least protect their families and their businesses.
At least,
and
at least that, right?
Give young men a purpose too. Right now, I mean, there's so many young men who want something to do, who kind of want something they could join or get into. But the institutions for young men to kind of fit themselves into society with like-minded individuals have been fragmented by identity politics and kind of the dethroning of the patriarchy, or whatever you want to call it. So, it's not only good for the safety of our country, but it's good for the morale of, some of the disenfranchised.
And it really addresses some of the issues on both sides, as far as getting the police more involved in the community, and then equipping the community to stand up for themselves a little bit better.
And stay shoulder to shoulder with the law enforcement.
Right, exactly, which is what we need. Not to ban everybody's guns and then abolish the police and then just have a power vacuum.
See what happens.
Right.
Let's pour some gas on this fire. See what happens.
Right, but to actually get the police more involved with the community and less involved with the bureaucracy, and get the community more involved with the police and less involved with the social justice.
And I had ideas on that too, because there are some loose cannons in every police department.
Right, and that's why people on every side could actually get behind some of this.
Sure. And we were talking last week a little bit about some of this, and those ideas. I had you just simply, rework the average beat cop's schedule. To where he's on the street maybe 1 or 2 days a week, and those days aren't consecutive. And you have days in there for he's got his days off and days for administrative, and then also either require or highly encourage to spend time with kids in school. Okay, Tuesday is your school day, so you go and Officer Jones, you go with Mrs. Smith's first grade class, and you're going to be with their class all day long. You play with them at recess time, and just kind of be there and find out, get to know them. And then the next year, when those kids go to second grade, now you follow them to second grade, and you're going to be there for them. And all of a sudden, and it won't be just one officer per class, but throughout the week, They're gonna have the different officers assigned to their class to just be mentors. Why not?
Right.
And maybe not be every single, employee of the law enforcement, but the vast majority of them, and if there's serious incentives, and then it'll take maybe several years to start seeing results that you can actually put on paper, but there will be positive results.
And then the level of trust in between young men and the police would be so much different. It'd be so much different for me if when I was 18 years old, I had personally known several police officers throughout the course of my life and been able to talk to them and establish a
absolutely.
relationship.
Sure.
If the only interactions you have with the police are negative,
Or coming from viral videos that are propagated online by actors who have bad intent.
Well, not only that, I mean, we have, I take care of I've basically socially adopted this little girl since the time she was born. Her dad took off, and her parents were friends of mine. They split up, and there's nobody around for this little girl. And it was just the other day, we're driving along, and she says, I see a police officer. I hope he doesn't, arrest me, or if he comes after me, I'm going to hide under my bed, stuff like that. So we have parents, and all of us. We're driving along, and there's a cop behind you. You feel like the guy in Top Gun who's got the radar. The Russian's got the radar lock on it.
absolutely.
If he pulls you over, you're done. It's a shakedown. There's so many incentives for him to. He's got a quota. He has to write so many tickets. The whole thing is incentivized with money. Joe Rogan said if every police stop, every time you got stopped by cops, it wasn't a shakedown, we wouldn't have quite so many problems with the police, but it's a shakedown a lot of times. I've been pulled plenty of times and I haven't been given a ticket, but I know if he wanted to, make my life a living hell. Then once you get into the courtroom, you got the DA and the judges and the police, they all get paid on it. All right, we're finished up. We're kind of bagging on the police a little bit, saying they're shaking us down and everything else. But on the other side of that coin, we have, our society, we had social decay. A horrible social decay. We were talking earlier, we look at pictures from the 1950s of teenagers going out to the movies, right? And everyone in the theater, all these teenage boys are wearing a jacket and a tie. It's just standard. That's what they did. No one told them to do it. It's just how you on a social occasion, you're going out to the movies with your girlfriend, she's wearing a dress, and you're wearing a jacket and a tie. Now today, we got, these gut bags walking around Walmart with their Cookie Monster pajamas, their guts hanging out, their hair's messy. No one cares. The Americans are embarrassing looking shit out of me. My friends from overseas are like, ugh, Americans are fat and lazy and ugly. And I'm like, yeah, kind of. I can't say no.
And the Americans who go overseas tend to fit that stereotype.
Childhood obesity has become a national security issue.
Sure.
It's like a third of every young man is too obese to be useful.
Not fit for military service. Yeah. Anyways, so that kind of goes into like why do I have so many police that are just like kind of out there issuing beatdowns? A lot of times you arrest somebody, especially these gangbanger wannabes or they're tough guys. They grew up, they never heard the word no in their life. These apply to them. Dad's never been around. They've never learned discipline, and they don't have any real identity. They all have this identity crisis. Where do I fit? Where do I fit in the world? The tougher I act, the more respect I get from my friends. So let's kind of take this to the next level. You throw someone in jail where they feed you 3 times a day. You take a lot of naps. You might read books.
You mostly hang out with other gangbangers.
Yeah, or if not a gangbanger, you're just these shitheads. Sorry, try not to let that slip. So when you get out of jail, I have friends who are cops, and I talk to them, and they say, yeah, these guys, we put them in jail, and then usually it's a feather in their cap. They get even more respect and encourages even more because nothing bad happened to them in jail. And so, without naming names, and this is a place in Montana, is that we have what's called the beat and release program. It's the only thing that works. We get these gangbangers come up from California to Nowheresville, Montana, and start slinging their dope and walk around like they own the place. And say they arrest these guys, they're let out, a few days or a few weeks later, and their friends think they're even cooler. So, but these guys come up from California or Chicago or wherever. So we'll take them out and we'll beat them with a stick. And it says it takes about 3 beatings and they leave us alone. They go home because it hurts. The beat and release program. It worked for my brother. My brother was a severe alcoholic for years. Well, he was in small town Montana. He was driving, crashing his truck all over town, and he'd walk home. and they could never catch him. Well, finally one day he's riding in the middle of the night in December. He got snow. And he's riding a little kid's bicycle across town, drunk, and the cop has been trying to catch him. Caught him finally, handcuffed him, and beat him with a club. And he said, this day, he says the best thing that's ever happened to him. It's the only thing that worked.
It's like in Singapore, they have public floggings for things, small infractions like leaving your gum on the side of a bench.
Mm-hmm.
But Singapore is a country with a very, very low crime rate. And,
Sure.
That's not to say we should be publicly
No, of
flogging
course not,
everyone
of course
for
not.
everything. But
That's an extreme example.
there's logic to it.
There is logic to it. So a lot of times the police officers see themselves as the only thing that works really is, you see these beating videos. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to reform these people, in their hearts. And of course it's wrong, but so there needs to be some reforms. What's causing people to act like this in the first place? They're completely out of control. Completely out of control. And we all have friends. We grew up. We go to their house. They don't have a dad. Mom lets them get away with murder. We go to their house. I remember growing up. We go to my friend's house. They were raised by just their mom. We do whatever we want.
Right.
Do whatever you want.
And a lot of these moms are so overwhelmed with just how many things they got to take care of
There's
by
that.
themselves that the
There's
kid
that.
throws a fit and they just throw in the towel and say, all right, whatever you want, to just kick the can down the road.
Sure. And then pretty soon, who has to kick that can now?
The police.
The police. That's the only thing there is. You put them in, or you stick them in jail. America has more people in prison than any other country in the world. Land of the free.
right.
We have more people in prison in this country than any other country on the planet, and we're the land of the free. Well, why is that? Look up the stats. Prove me wrong. Something is close to 100%. It's not 100%, but it's
It's like
close to.
95% of everyone in prison.
Single mother household.
Doesn't have a dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the root. We can say, oh, there's racism, and oh, there's this, and oh, there's that, and oh, the police are too mean, or they're too lenient, or whatever the case is. Let's go to the root of the problem. The family has been busted.
Right. And so much of that has been subsidized by the government.
Subsidized and incentivized. Jinx. Yeah, there's an incentive, and everybody knows this. Everybody I know, every guy that I know, and he starts having problems with his marriage. He starts shaking his boots because all that has to happen. She goes to the judge, say, oh, he beats me, or oh, he's been molesting the kids, or all this, all that. Why does she say these things? Because she's going to get paid. She's going to get paid and pay a lot.
And society's going to foot the bill. Society's going to foot the
And we're
bill
footing the
to
bill right
help
now.
destroy themselves. That's what they do.
They
That's
just
what
tore
our
down
bosses
statues of Frederick Douglass.
do. Yeah, I saw that. Of all
Frederick
people.
Douglass
Right.
just got torn down.
Right.
So, okay, geniuses, yeah. So, where does this come from? It's just busted families. And no one likes to be told, especially when you're a kid, like this little 4-year-old I've been trying to mentor, she eats candy and popsicles, and if you let her, she'd eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And say, no, sweetheart, you got to eat your peas, you got to eat, eat some chicken, eat something to throw food. And she looks at you like you're insane. Well, you keep that going. Say, okay, all right, have your licorice, have your jelly beans. And every single day, pretty soon, you just let her get away with whatever she wants, and you're going to get what we have now. So it's difficult to get a kid to, but it has to start when they're young. And it's difficult. You got to tell a kid no every once in a while, and listen to him scream. And then pretty soon you have decent people walking around, like, hey, I know it's, my dad used to spank me a little bit, and I had to do my chores. And then you got the kid, we go to their mom, their house, and their mom's at work, and there ain't no dad around. We're in the basement letting stuff on fire and having a great time. And then when mom comes home and finds out, it's like, you guys, and nothing happens. I had a buddy who, in high school, his name was JR. We'd have these huge parties. His mom would be like, I'm out. So we'd have these huge parties at his house. And then when we're not having parties, he'd sneak out and go slash tires just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it. Nobody I know that grew up with a dad snuck out and went slash tires just for fun. So, how do we disincentivize the breaking apart of the family? Everybody it's the thing that no one says out loud. So I got some things written on my little list here if you want to hear them.
Love to.
So disincentivizing the breaking of the families. One, alimony should be abolished.
Amen.
Alimony is slavery. No one wants to hear, oh, free money? Oh, yeah, keep that coming. No. If I am working and giving somebody else money because we used to be married, giving somebody money, you have to go to work and give someone else the fruits of your labor for nothing in return, that is slavery.
That's literally the definition of slavery.
But there's a lifestyle that they're accustomed to, Aaron.
Yeah. Yeah, there's lifestyles that I got accustomed to too, and I had to change them because situations change. But this is the land of opportunity, is it not?
Yeah.
Well, then go out and do something, you know, take your own destiny into your own hands. Sorry, but someone else is not going to foot the bill for this. I mean, that is so preposterous. Like, what? No, out the door.
It's disgusting.
Child support reform. There's a saying, first in line, first in dime. So, you know, we all know that if we have a kid, we're married, we go into a courtroom as a man, you're 99% chance you're gonna get fleeced. So, you know, there's also something called first in line, first in dime. That's where, so a guy, he gets a girl pregnant, she has a kid, he's got to pay child support based on his income, whatever his income is. There's a formula to work out, right?
And it states that even if he loses that income.
Right. And then boom, there's another kid. Now he's got to pay child support to that one, but that kid gets less than the first one. The first one gets the most. And then there's a third kid. I know a guy who, he's a tattoo artist. And for some reason, these girls fall in love with him. So a girl walks in, she gets a tattoo, she falls in love. He knocks her up. That's just how it works. And he's got like 11 kids with 11 different women, right? Well, from now, after like the fourth kid, it's free. He doesn't have to pay. So he's already paying out. He's already at max. So number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10, he doesn't have to pay a dime. He's already maxed out. So where's equal protection under the law for kid number, 12? He's still just as important as kid number 1, is he not? Or is she not? Right? So maybe there should be a little bit of reform. And going back to the family, so so that's just one situation. They weren't married, whatever. Or maybe guys got 2 different marriages now, whatever it is. But having this formula, I was seeing this girl and she got divorced, and all she would talk about child support. I need more. He made this much at one point in his life. He just wants to go after this guy. They say that hell has no fury like a woman's scorn. Well, she's going nuts after this guy because she knows she can make the more money, the more she goes after, the more money she gets, right? How about we make it a flat rate? We look at the area, what's the cost of living, standard, we'll do the formula, bam, $200, and it goes to a card. It's not just cash. You can't spend it on drugs. You can't spend it on several things. It's not a payday. It's just there to help out. So we're going to disincentivize breaking up in the first place. Maybe we should stop and figure this out a little bit. Our grandparents, their generation, divorce is almost unheard of. Why is that? Did human genetics change? Are we different human beings now? Or has certain things happened to where, hey, if you do this, you get paid. So bam, all these families are torn apart. You're going to get your, as a man, it's what, 14%? I was just reading this, 14% of divorced men actually get custody of their children. 14%.
My God.
14%. And you look at, and everyone knows these situations. Everyone who's going to listen to this and knows somebody or several somebodies. We're like, holy shit! This guy, he works hard. He loves his kids. He sees, he's been trying to fix the problem. It's causing fights, whatever. She has,
Right, and then he can't actually even fulfill the role as a father if he's even there half time, because say he tries to discipline the kid. I mean, this is what happened to me. My father would try to discipline me. I would go stay with my mom for the weekend. Hands off.
Right.
It's just
discipline.
Yes, I'm not grounded no more. It's time to go hang out.
Check this out. One of my son, one of his friends, his mother's a meth addict. Okay, and she got custody of the kids, and she's a full-on drug addict, meth addict. Right? She kept getting custody of the kids. His dad, dad's alcoholic. He drinks too much. Oh, well, in that case, you get the kids. Now he's 18 or 19 or 20 now. He wants to become a lawyer so that he can protect other kids who fell into that trap that was set for him. He said, there's no way my mother should have had custody of us kids. So he's like, I need to fight against it. He went through it. He's like, yeah, life was kind of cool for a while. We do whatever the hell we wanted to do. But,
what's that going to change? Have a society.
But his brother and his sister, they can't take care of themselves. They're adults now. They can't take care of themselves. Mom is still down the tubes. And he said there's no rationality to it.
Right. And even the way the system's set up, even if you get shared custody as a guy, chances are you're still paying child support.
Yeah, you're still paying on that. So
I mean, if the guy has done, nothing wrong in comparison to the woman, you're just divorcing, you don't like each other anymore, or something like that, and the woman gets custody of the child, how can we say that's not sexism? How can we say that's not some kind of systemic
on paper we're equal, but in real life we're not.
Right.
Yeah, and then of course, right out of the playbook, if there's any fight or whatever, they go to, oh, he's abusive, he molests the kids, and judges hear this all day, every day, till they're bored of hearing it. Anyways, there's some states that have standard 50-50 custody. Like, you're divorced, boom, standard 50-50. You don't like it, tough. Unless you can prove, of course, there's abusive situations, abusive people, there's horrible people out there. But these states where it's mandatory 50-50, they really have to look a lot closer with a magnifying glass and justify, putting, just automatically, here you go, to the woman, adios, dad, sorry, just keep those checks coming and never mind anything else.
It's about using evidence. I mean, law and order depends on using evidence to prosecute and decide the legal outcomes of anything.
Sure. So, having minimal child support payments. Sorry, but it's a standard thing. If you make $1 million, your child support's $200. You're making, you're a bum. Well, you better figure out a way to make $200, pal. You had kids. Do something about that. And then we can go even further. So, the kids start having criminal behavior about 13 years old. That's when they start having their criminal
tires, doing their thing,
shoplifting and getting bad grades and cutting school and really starting to fill their oats. People hit their criminal peak, about between 16 and 25. That's what they call the criminal peak. Anyways, you start to see some of those criminal behaviors, and saying, hey, moms are horrible at raising kids. Look at our prisons. Look at this. What are we talking about? And of course, it's not true across the board. So making blanket statements is generally a bad idea and frowned upon. However, we start seeing some evidence. So my idea, we have child criminal behavior. Okay, mom, if your kid is, little Johnny here he's getting caught shoplifting, he's 13. Well, we're going to cut some welfare here. We're going to cut, you got some child support coming in, we're going to cut that too. If it gets worse, and so you can have these tiers of disincentives. We're going to cut the welfare, start cutting child support. If it gets bad enough, we're going to transfer more custody to the more stable parent, or you go to the other one, see if that helps out. And the same thing with bad grades. You start getting B's and F's, same as criminal behavior. We're going to start cutting some benefits. There's evidence that you're not being a very good parent. Well, your kid's starting to screw up. And it's okay, kids are going to make mistakes and do stuff. My brother, we're like 12, and he stole a can of silly string, and he got in big trouble at home, and kind of made a big deal about it, and then I don't think he stole anymore. But we go from stuff like that. They start sneaking cigarettes at 14. They're smoking reefer at 12 and 13 and 14. Next thing you know, how do these guys? You go to the store. You go to Walmart or Home Depot, and at the exit of the parking lot, there's always some scumbag holding a sign. A dude, a healthy adult who is obviously able to work, holding a sign. Oh, woe is me. He's just feeding a drug addict. I call it, there's homeless people and then there's professional drug addicts. And the professional drug addicts are outnumber the homeless something like 149 to 1. So, let's feel sorry for them. So, the whole heading that all my ideas is, F your feelings. Because feeling sorry for someone is not going to help them. Handing money to
it makes it worse.
Yeah. We wrote a whole article on this on libertyrevoltmedia.com that compassion is not something that always helps people. It decides how they feel for them.
Yeah, there's a book called Toxic Charity, and a lot of it can be toxic if you're doing it wrong. You're handing a panhandler money is actually an act of cruelty. When you get that in your head, that's an act of cruelty. That's keeping them on the street.
Right, you're reinforcing those behaviors.
Sorry, right. You're not supposed to go out and catch a baby raccoon and keep it until it's 3 years old and then take it down the river and drop it off. That's an act of cruelty. He can't take care of himself. Anyways, so go on, back to what we were talking about. So your kid's acting up. You can't control your kid, and it's obvious they're breaking rules. They're getting bad grades in school. The teachers complain he's being disruptive. Well, guess what? We're gonna start hitting your wallet a little bit. Child support, we're going to start taking away a little bit, on a scale. Welfare, we can start taking away some of that. And if it gets bad enough, it didn't go to the other parent. If there is no other parent, and this is just me and my magic wand. If I was if I had my magic wand, I wave it. And just would fix the problem. We're talking about fixing problems here, not making pie in the sky utopia, but we're fixing problems.
Military service.
Mandatory military. And there's such thing as military schools, and they've been around for a long time. Sorry, we're going to take your kid, we're going to put him in military school. You know, we have military preschools even. You know, you have how many times we hear about these women that have 8 or 9 kids, and they're all taken away from them because mom is just a complete drug addict. She gets out of prison and she gets knocked up.
Right, she's using that alimony to just...
Or not just alimony, but just have these kids, and then she's got all this welfare, but then they get taken away for neglect and abuse. Well, where are they going to go? The foster system is riddled with problems and abuse. I spent some time in the military myself. I know what it's like. Yeah, it kind of sucks at the beginning, but you're stronger for it. You're a better person for it, and everybody I know wouldn't trade it for the world.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if I would have had a little bit of military training when I was a backwards hat, rap listening, authority shirking 16-year-old, I'm sure I would have turned out a little bit better, a little bit earlier.
Sure.
You know, if someone would have put me through that and given me some discipline.
Sure. Well,
it doesn't exist though.
Cry now, laugh later is way better than laugh now, cry later. You know, so a little bit of adversity mixed into your childhood probably goes a long way. And as long as there's compassion behind it, not obviously abuse is right out. And all this will go into abolishing the No Child Left Behind Act, where it's on the teachers to make sure your kids get good grades, and if not, they get fired. This is, if your kid's not doing well, the parent is going to have to pay some sort of penalty. For a positive child performance, kids getting good grades, kids in Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever kind of scouts there is, they're doing a good job. They're like, oh wow, keeping your room clean and look, I got good grades and I haven't committed any crimes yet. Well, how about we're going to give some tax breaks to the parents? Your property taxes. Oh, your kid got straight A's? Well, how about we're going to a couple percentage off your property taxes, whatever taxes. You submit your kids' report card. You're raising a good citizen. Well, all right, it's going to cost us less in the long run. So we're going to give you a break.
Absolutely, that's a tremendous idea.
How about subsidized discounts at stores? You have this card. My kid's a good kid card. Bam, you go and you take it to Walmart. Now, okay, you get 5% off because your kid's a good kid. The government will come along and pay that 5% for you, so the store doesn't have to pay for it. And we're still saving money because your kid isn't a damn criminal.
Right.
So you can sometimes
take care of them in prison for
absolutely. Cheaper license plates, cheaper hunting license, fish on whatever kind of license there is. Your kid's doing better. And it's not like other kids have to pay more. It's just that you get a break. It's all performance based. Performance. Of course, race has nothing to do with it. And I would love to see any government form where it has to fill in the race. We all had to fill out forms and ask your race. You go to buy a gun and ask your race. It shouldn't even be there. Absolutely not. It's 100% performance based.
Right. I wish our politicians would stop using any kind of race definition in their speeches. Just call people Americans. What we are.
Exactly, like Morgan Freeman says.
Right.
They're the Americans. Then we could subsidize medical insurance too. Like, little Johnny was doing good, but now he's got lung cancer. Well, he was doing good before then.
Right.
All right then. We're gonna cut you a break on that, or your health insurance all across the board.
Meanwhile, Timmy's been smoking meth for 15 years. He's got lung cancer.
See, my sister's kids got busted one summer. They were down at the school breaking windows with a hammer. What? And nothing happened to them. Nothing happened. What? They're down there. They got in a little bit of trouble. She didn't have to pay for the windows. So we subsidize, medical insurance, or preference points for government jobs, law enforcement, military jobs. And there's something called meritorious promotion, where if you're an Eagle Scout and you join, at least the Marines, I think it's all branches, but if you get the Eagle Scout, it's supposed to be difficult to do. And you say, look, I'm an Eagle Scout. When you join and when you graduate boot camp, you're automatically promoted one level up. From E1 to E2, you don't have to wait that 9 months.
You've already done the work.
You've shown some leadership. You've shown that you're a decent human being. So if you have this, this gold star, I was a good kid the whole freaking time and I have good grades. So not only you don't have to be an Eagle Scout, but you can just be a decent. You show that you've been a decent kid. Your parents did a good job raising you. Well, we can advance you to to E1 or E2 or E3, and then also on the officer side, we just promote you to O2 instead of O1. You know what I'm saying? Right out of OCS.
Absolutely.
So these will be good incentives for keeping your kids on the straight and narrow.
It's about making a healthy society, and a healthy society is a rich society, is what people don't understand.
Right. The countries that are rising the fastest are the countries that have their families in order, because that's the root of everything else.
Look at Japan.
100%.
Look at Japan. If the entire world were to take a page out of Japan's playbook, I don't know if you've ever been to Japan. If you've ever been to Japan, but you can eat off the streets. You can almost literally eat off the streets. You can take your cell phone, you walk into McDonald's, you put your cell phone on the counter, you leave, you come back 2 hours later, it's still there. You take your wallet, you leave it, it's still there.
Or Taiwan is like that too. I dropped my phone in the street. 5 minutes later, it was at the nearest police station.
Sure.
I just had to go to the nearest police station, and they had my phone. They were trying to get a hold of
And
me.
you expected it too.
And I expected it. That's what my buddy's like, listen, I lost my phone. He's like, this is Taiwan. Your phone will be found in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Go to the place where less things are taken.
Yeah.
In this country,
No.
No thanks. No thanks. You got entire generations of people that never heard the word no and just get whatever you want and cheat and lie and steal.
All right, thank you for tuning in, everyone. We'll be back next Sunday.